Salutations Rangers, General Bradley 101 back at you again with some more lore. And today's video, boys and girls, we're asking a very personal question. And no, not the type of personal that you ask when you go into the doctor, the type of personal that gets you roasted online by a Reddit. Today, we're answering the question, why do I personally hate the Emperor of Mankind? Because this chap asked, and hell, I'd like to answer. So, strap in and buckle up, and let's get cracking on with today's video. The Emperor of Mankind is a very pivotal character in Warhammer 40k. He is arguably the most pivotal, and in my opinion, he is the most important character in all of the setting. If not, then he's at least top 5, with only the Chaos Gods, the Old Ones, and maybe the Silent King rivaling him in terms of just sheer impact on the setting as a whole. And in regards to humanity's story, he is certainly the most important character, period. So you'd think that with a character that is so important to one of the main factions, if not the main faction in all of 40k and the setting as a whole, you'd think that, he'd be really well written. Yeah, no, he's not. And this comes to the main reason, and the true reason why I really just don't like the Emperor as a character. Quite simply put, it's because he's been written by so many bastards that you don't really know what exactly the character of the Emperor is. You see, in Warhammer 40k, GW employs a series of revolving writers, meaning that writers come and go as they please. So it's very much a case that if a writer starts a series and decides to dip out of it one way, he can do that. And then another writer will come in and have to finish the series. It's happened before, and those series aren't exactly beloved by the community, shall I say. But with the Emperor in particular, it seems to be some of the worst offender, with no less than 5 different authors having written at least one book in regarding to the Emperor or mentioning the Emperor as a character, meaning that at the very minimum, we have at least 5 different interpretations of the Emperor as a character. The problem is, the Emperor is supposed to be the same being. Way back when, during the born of the Mesopotamian age, all the way to the grimdark heresy that was Warhammer 30k. If not exactly the same character, he's supposed to be a similar character. The problem is though, we have 5 different people giving their various different interpretations of him. And when you get a character like the Emperor and what he's supposed to be, which I'll touch up in a second, that means that you get wildly different ideas, morals, speculations, and everything in between. Meaning that what was supposed to be a very complex, very compelling, and a very nuanced character just turns into something that's really fucking annoying, if I'm being frank. There are countless times where we are left scratching our heads questioning, why did the Emperor do this? Why did he act in this way? And what little God Almighty was this bastard drinking the night before? Meaning that it's really hard to vibe with a character when you can't really understand their motivations. You don't have to agree with the character's motivations, but you gotta understand them. That's why there are a lot of characters like Darth Vader, for example, who are terribly beloved. You may not agree with him killing younglings, but you certainly understand how he got to that point. Combination of fear as well as tragedy, which then ended up him falling, and lo and behold, he was the cause of his own demise and downfall. Of course, that was before, Disney decided to fuck everything up, but we're not talking about that today. Nope. So when talking about a character like the Emperor, he is supposed to be a story. Problem is though, his story gets really fucked when people take different approaches to it. So all in all, that is the true, real, final, definitive reason why I just don't like the Emperor as a character. It's because his character is a fucking mess. Reading about the Emperor, he'll do one thing in one aspect, then he'll do another in another aspect that directly contradict each other. Now that in of itself is not necessarily a bad thing, but there needs to be a good bridge between those 2 points of contradiction. Problem is with the Emperor, at best, you're getting a shady rope that was built by a goblin. Not exactly good quality. So overall, with the Emperor, you end up getting a character that is just really hard to understand and thus really hard to like. Some people really like Master of Mankind, but some people also really hate when the Emperor appears in other different pieces of literature, particularly in the Primarch books. So, when you consider the outer world factors, it's really not really fair for me to say, hey, I don't like the Emperor as a character without mentioning that, because, it's kind of a little self-sabotaging in a way, but, that is the actual true reason why I just dislike the Emperor as a character, because, just doesn't make sense. But then, that begs the question. If the Emperor was written by one person coherently, and what the Emperor was supposed to be as a character, what he's supposed to represent, and what truly is the Master of Mankind, would I like the Emperor as a character? And I think no. But, it'd be kind of lame if I just said that in the video. Yeah, it also would be too damn short, and God Almighty knows I need those mid-rolls. Join the members to help support your boy. We also have a Patreon now. So, basically, I'm gonna go over what I believe the Emperor is supposed to be as a character. Again, this is what I think the Emperor is supposed to be. This is my interpretation of him, and this is what I think GW was going for. I could be hilariously wrong, or I could have hit the nail right on the head. Truth be told, don't really know. Because again, GW doesn't really know what the fuck the Emperor is supposed to be, so how the hell am I? And that's the kicker. I don't, but I can make a damn good guess. And somehow it's entertaining, so that's why y'all watch. Thank you for watching, by the way. Love y'all. So without any further ado, let's get talking about the Emperor as a character. The Emperor is said to be the greatest human of humanity, the master of mankind, the greatest being of us. Now, how people interpret that is one of two things. Either he is quite literally a demigod or a god of humanity, or he's simply just the most advanced evolved version of a human being. Both are alluded to, and both are plausible. But the Emperor has said to have seen the entirety of humanity, from the very birth of humanity during the plains of Mesopotamia, all the way to the rise and fall of the interstellar human empire, and finally culminating with him seeing the very worst of humanity, which resulted in him being sat upon the throne of gold. The Emperor, at a relatively young age, recognizes that he's not normal. He soon discovers that he has special powers and that he's in fact a perpetual. He also recognizes that there are indeed many others who are just like him, a perpetual. Thus, Big E decides to gather them together, and together, they decide to make forth humanity, to bring it into a golden age and to watch over it from the shadows. And that's what Big E and the Perpetuals do for a fair part of about 30,000 odd years, give or take. However, during this time, the Emperor does little things here and there to try and help humanity. We know that throughout a lot of history, he's supposed to be very many great figures. The most common one we have him alluded to is being Alexander the Great. But it's very possible that various other major characters throughout the entirety of history, Julius Caesar, Genghis Khan, may have in fact been the Emperor acting. We also do know for a fact that he was indeed St. George, of St. George and the Dragon Slayer fame, and said dragon was indeed the Void Dragon, which he then imprisoned upon Mars. Big E was said to be kicking around here and there for a long bit of time, but eventually the fall of the interstellar human empire would happen, and Big E would see humanity go throughout the long night. Eventually, Big E realized that humanity wasn't going to pull itself up by the bootstraps and he'd had to intervene personally. From there, the Emperor reasoned that he would need to re-establish the great interstellar human empire and restore the entirety of humanity under a great crusade. And here is where we start getting into the problems that I have with the Emperor. Now, a lot of people like to say, oh, Big E didn't need to conquer anyone, he could have brought them in peacefully, he's such a tyrant, he's a warmonger, yada yada yada. And those aren't exactly false claims, but the reasoning is false. Anyone who thinks that you can bring all of humanity together with simple peaceful negotiations is a hilarious, idiotic optimist. And that's coming from me. It is beyond naive to think that everyone can be convinced to join a good cause. At the end of the day, if two people want to come together to work together, they will find a way. But if someone decides in their heart of hearts that it's going to be a lot easier if I just kill this bastard, they're going to go and kill them, and damn be anything that's going to stop them, including you with your little speech. So the Emperor was definitely going to need to crack a few heads. My overall issue with it is just how the Emperor decided he was going to do this. The Emperor decided that everyone was going to join under his banner. There was no neutrality in the eyes of the Emperor, you were either with him or against him. The order was very clear, submit or die. Which, it makes me question the Emperor as a character. Okay, right, you want to recover humanity, you want to restore it, but restore it under what means? You don't just want to restore humanity, you want humanity to be under your rule. And from there, the whole claim of wanting to recover the lost glory of humanity is kind of disingenuous because you weren't ruling the old interstellar empire before. So why now do you want everyone to follow your rule? Now, some people argue that's because, the old interstellar human empire fell, so that's why Big E thinks that he needs to do it his way. And then that brings me on to my second point about the Emperor. Where was Big E during the big interstellar human empire? Now, to my knowledge, he wasn't really involved in it. Or maybe he had to be somewhere and couldn't be involved in it. But I find it highly suspicious that when we see what Big E was capable of, with him basically having the power of a god, mind you, literally known as the anathema to the Chaos Gods, surely he could have turned the tide of the war. Surely he could have intervened. Surely he could have done something. But he didn't. He didn't choose to do anything. Not during the AI Great War, nor the actual War of Slaanesh when she was born, and then the whole chaos nonsense and the fall of the Empire and demons and everything in between. Big E chose to do nothing. Why? Well, again, we don't really know, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it's because he wanted the Empire to fall, so he could come into it and he can control it and create his own Imperium of Man. That all religion was a farce, and that it was just created by madmen to control humanity. And the reason that a lot of people use is that, if there's no religion, then the Chaos Gods don't get any worship. If the Chaos Gods don't get any worship, they will slowly die away. They need worship to exist, so if you remove the worship, you slowly remove the threat of chaos. But even in this, that doesn't really work. Big E is supposed to be around for the entirety of humanity. He's supposed to know humanity better than everyone. He's supposed to be one of the longest living humans, period. Then he should know that humanity needs some type of religion. Even if it's banned, we'll make our own. Despite the countless times Big E went on and on about purging religion, throughout the entirety of the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy, there were several worlds, entire planetary systems, mind you, that literally worshipped the Emperor as a god, as a deity. I mean, hell, even one of his own legions worshipped him as a god. And Big E would then deal with Lorgar in such a terrible way that it would drive him away from God, quote unquote, and directly into the hands of Satan. But we'll touch up more about that later. So then, it begs the question, why? Why did Big E decide, hey, no religion? No religion outright. Why not instead vote that there is a religion, the religion of Big E, and in reality say that, hey, there's also Satan's? Because we can see that in Warhammer 40k, for all its faults, those who know about chaos know it's evil and they avoid it like the plague, pun intended. So if Big E is supposed to know all this, why didn't he just go that route instead? We can see that when Horus interacted with the Interrex and when he learnt about what chaos was, he had no idea. If Big E had told everyone what chaos was, if he had made it clear, and if he had put in safeguards to prevent people from falling to chaos, then Horus would have realized what was going on, the whole thing with the Interrex could have been avoided, period. But Big E didn't do that. Again, Big E could have been the god, so if someone did something he didn't like, he could just say, by God's holy wrath I smite thee. We know for a fact Big E is not the loving, kind, caring motherfucker. He does not care, period. So he'll gladly kill somebody if he doesn't like them. But again, that begs the question, why didn't Big E go that route? And this is where, in my opinion, we get to Big E's greatest character flaw. For those of you who are unaware, Big E does not like religion. He doesn't like it one bit at all. And we can tell from his interaction with the Lost Church, Big E is definitely a moderator on Reddit who loves his fedora. And God almighty, does he tip that son of a bitch. Big E is very comically aggressively atheist. He despises religion, and he tries his damnedest to get, quite literally, the lost preacher on earth to abandon his faith. He doesn't need to, he just does it out of pure spite, to get off his rockers because he hates it. Now, why exactly Big E hates religion so much, I don't exactly know, but he did grow throughout the entirety of humanity. He would have experienced every form of religion, from the fire worship of ancient Babylon, to the paganism of the Nordics and the Celts, to the religious strife of Christianity between Islam, to the wars of separation during the 30 Years' Wars and those internecine conflicts, so maybe he just became disillusioned with it. So he decided that's better that it doesn't exist, period. Ultimately, I don't really know, but what I do know is the outcome from it. And that is that Big E, with every single ounce of blood in his big old body, despises religion. So he decided that in his perfect world, there would be no religion, even if it was to the detriment of it overall. And here is when we get to the crux of it all, and why I really just don't like Big E. And that's because he just wants control. Not control in any meaningful sense, control according to him. He's an arrogant narcissist who thinks that he knows best. And he's decided that, hey, I'm going to do it like this, and it's going to be done like this, or it's going to die trying. And again, that often conflicts with another side of Big E that we get. Big E is again supposed to be this character of like, hey, he's all-knowing, he's wise, he wants the best for humanity, but in the same vein, you have him doing stuff like this, but it's like, no, this is not for the best of humanity, this is for his own personal ego. Again, this could be a victim of him being written by multiple people, or it could be a case of him being both the same character, but it's just bridged poorly. And instead of it being compelling, it's left with me thinking, wow, this guy is just dumb. And ultimately, I would be willing to forgive a lot of this if Big E acted competently. But that's the thing, he just doesn't. And again, this could be another thing of, oh, lots of writers, so he's interpreted differently, but there are so many times where Big E does something and I'm like, are you dumb? You were supposed to be the master of mankind, the greatest being in all of humanity, the king of king, best of best, guy of guy. You're supposed to be him, but why are you acting like Steve who can't even get a date? A perfect example is Lorgar and Angron. Big E dealt with Lorgar in the absolute worst way possible. His actions directly drove Lorgar into the arms of chaos via Erebus. Angron is even worse. Whereas you could argue that he gave Lorgar chances, and that Erebus was going to find a way to sneak in the Legion anyway, what did Big E do with Angron? All Big E literally had to do was drop his custodies with Angron, and that's that. They would have won, and boom, sorted, Angron would have been loyal, and Nusteria would have become his fief world. But no, Big E deliberately picks up Angron and plops him on his ship. Why? Because that's what he wants. He doesn't care that Angron wants to die with his boys. He needs Angron to lead the 12th Legion, so that's what's going to happen. I don't give a fuck what you think, you're going to do what I do. And again, Big E makes these mistakes time and time again. There are various races that Big E encounters in the Great Crusade that do not need to be genocided. Granted, there's a lot that do, and those need to die out flatly, fully, good Lord Almighty. But there are many worlds that Big E could have just left, not expending time and resources with them, but having them as an ally, rather than a direct control or a vassal state or whatever. Big E could have just avoided them, but he didn't. Why? Because he wanted control. And he wanted so much control, he wanted everything done with his own way, that he even made a deal with Satan and then told Satan to get bent. Not just one Satan, but 4 Satans. And that culminates with me talking about the one thing that really just grinds my gears with Big E. Big E made a deal with Chaos. He gained knowledge, technology, whatever it would be, to help him make his Primarchs. Big E then outright betrays them. Not even smartly betrays them, just flat out betrays them. He breaks their deal and buggers off to do his own thing. And the gods simply walk in and yeet his children into all of outer space. For me, I'm left answering, Big E, did you really think that you could pull a fast one over 4 primordial beings of chaos and not expect any retaliation? Were you so arrogant? Were you so conceited? Were you so stupid that you thought that, hey, I'm just going to piss them off. I'm not even going to try. I'm just going to do it blatantly and I'm going to be okay. My wards will protect their safe and everything will be fine. It'll be okay. Again, Big E is supposed to be the smartest guy there is. Surely he would think that pissing off 4 primordial beings, one of them who is literally the all-knowing god of change, wouldn't have any repercussions. Or he did and he just didn't give a fuck. Again, there are a lot of people who defend Big E by saying Big E knew the future. He knew that he couldn't stop Angron from betraying him. He knew he couldn't stop the Chaos Gods from yeeting into him. He knew the Chaos Gods would betray him. So he knew everything. So that's why he just did everything as he did. He didn't want to waste time and effort into that. And, if that's the case, I think that's bad writing. Because it just reeks of OC fanfiction of, oh no, my OC knows everything. That's why he does what he does. He's not an asshole because he's an asshole. He knows that him not being an asshole is actually good. So you should like him because he's super great. Look at him, my original super cool OC. I'm sorry. Maybe this is a me thing. But having a character that's like, oh no, he can see the future, he knows everything, so he can't do anything wrong, this just had to be, it just reeks of bad writing. And ultimately, I just don't like the Emperor. Because even if the Emperor is written perfectly and he's supposed to be this master of mankind, he is just a conceited narcissist who thinks that he is quite literally God. But at the same time, while he has a god complex, he has an atheistic complex as well. So he hates God despite being wanting a god. So he wants his cake, but he doesn't want to eat it as well. He wants to look at it, stare at it, call it a slur, and then move on with his day. And I just can't meld with a character like that, because you're just trying to be a super awesome, amazing, great messiah. But in the same vein, you despise everything about that. Even the whole idea of how Big E presents himself. Big, giant, golden man with halo and flaming sword. Why are you presenting yourself like this when you are a psyker and can literally change your appearance? Why are you presenting yourself like this, but in the same vein saying, hey, no, gods don't exist, even though you are projecting yourself literally as a god? Big E, as written, is a narcissistic, arrogant, god complex idiot. And he's a tyrant. Pure and simple. He wants control, control, and control. And, Warhammer 40k and GW would have us believe that if Big E succeeded at Great Crusade, the Imperium would be flourishing and everything would be perfect. Sure? Maybe. But personally, I think if the Emperor got it done, it'd be a shithole, because the Emperor is terrible. He sucks. He's a tyrant. He is a bad man. He's a dictator. He's not a good guy. At least that's how GW is presenting it. So, yeah, if that's the way, then Big E as a character, I can't meld with. I hate it. I hate him. He is the villain, my guy. If it weren't for the literal Satans, he would be the Satan. But as I said, that's one way to interpret the character. But there are also others. And the other way, and the one way that I think GW should write the Emperor, and I pray to God that's what they're doing with him, is that he should be an idealist turned into a realist turned into a pessimist. What do I mean by that? He starts off in the Mesopotamian age. He's full of ideas, he's full of bright ideals, smiley faces, he wants to restore humanity. He's so positive and optimistic, but slowly as the years come on and he sees the horrors of war, first in between humanity, then between planets, then between planetary states, and then in the galaxy and everything in between, he just breaks down and he loses a little bit of himself over and over and over again. Eventually he comes to the point where he's like, you know what, no, I need to help humanity, I can't just wait on the sidelines. So he goes and he helps it, but even after helping it, it still doesn't work, and he's pushed again and again to the brim, when finally he just snaps. And he becomes a pessimist. He's like, you know what? No. I'm going to restore humanity whether they want it or not. I'm done of seeing them kill themselves for 30,000 years. And eventually, that young, bright-eyed, beautiful optimist is transformed into a pessimistic dictator, driven into destruction purely because he believes humanity simply cannot do it on their own. If that's the character that GW gives us, if that's a character that they build up on, that's a character I can love. That's a character I can root for. And that's a character I can cry for, to be frank. Tragedy is something that a lot of humans relate to, and seeing Big E the most powerful human be reduced to a shadow of his former self, not in terms of prowess, but rather in terms of heart. For while the flesh may have grown strong, the heart has become blackened and weak. That would make him a very sympathetic character, and a character that I can much more understand. But the problem is, like, if that's their goal, it really doesn't come across like that. But I think that GW should take the Emperor in that direction. I think that if they do, that's where the Emperor could really shine as a good character. And while you still may not agree with him, at least you'll understand him. As we established before, if you understand a character, you can like a character. And if you like a character, well, then the setting as a whole is just better. But as it stands with the Emperor, he's just terrible. He's terrible. He's supposed to be this super complex character, and he ends up coming off as like every Reddit nice guy that you've ever seen who gets upset at you because, you know, no one can see his awesome brilliance. It just reeks of bad writing. It just reeks of bad writing. And I look at it and I see wasted potential, and then I just get pissy because I'm like, you know, this could have been something, but it's not, and I'm upset. I don't know what GW meant to do with him, but I don't know what he's supposed to be, and I really just, I don't like the Emperor, period, man. I don't know. In fact, I would never really talk about this unless someone directly asked to talk about it. And I was like, sure, why not? I never really explained it, but yeah. But all in all, with the Emperor, as he stands now, he's one of those things where he's just like black licorice. You either like it because it's salty, or you hate it because it's salty, and then you become salty. But I don't know what people are going to do with the Emperor. I don't know how people feel about the Emperor or what GW is going to do, but I don't think GW would touch the Emperor because the Horus Heresy thing is over now, so I think that's all going to get a Mr. Big E. And if that's the case, then it's a damn shame because his character right now is, in my opinion, really fucking bad. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for watching. Let me know down below, what do you guys think? Do you guys agree with me on Big E? Do you also hate Big E? Do you think that Big E is a good character because he is this really arrogant, evil idiot? Or do you, like me, also think that it's just a waste of a character and just really fucking cliche and just bad taste? And let me know, who do you guys think out of the many writers that we've gotten who have written Big E have done him the best? And who would you employ as the main Big E writer? But ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you all so very much for watching, and I want to say a massive thank you to my awesome members and Patreons. And massive shout out to my Officer Corps, my Lieutenant Tiers. Shout out Mr. Eddie V3 and Miss Major of the Void. Big shout out to all my Sergeant Tier fellas. Mr. Damiak, Mr. Andy McGee, Mr. Warsmith the Fireheart, Mr. Codes Butcher, and Mr. Sean IRL7. Shout out to my corporate tier members, Mr. Bowen and Tremail the Math Kitty. And finally, but certainly not least, big shout out to my private tier members, Mr. Thomas Moslons, Mr. Ivan_SBW, Mr. Michael Hayeda, Mr. Hattori's Kurs, and of course, Mr. Monkey Man. And very big shout out to my Patreon members, Mr. Fortus Unum, General Alexander, and Mr. Bowen. Also, massive thank you to Miss Scrimmy for giving a $5 super thanks donation. I appreciate you, and I know that I'm loved by y'all, but you know, hearing you guys say it is really nice, but I appreciate it and I love all of you. So thank you guys also very much for joining up. It gives me that little more emphasis to do these videos, and I am trying to make this my full-time vocation, so more people who sign up, hey, there's more reason for me to make this my full job. So sign up with these awesome people. You can gain access to a bunch of awesome benefits, getting these videos early, behind the scenes stuff, first glimpse into brand new stuff. There's a lot of big projects coming on in here, and if you join with the memberships, you're going to gain first access to them. So I want to say a massive thank you to all of you, but remember, this will always be free. So whether you give your boy $1 or not, I will love you just the same. Mwah! Yes, I will. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I've been the General Bradley 101. You have been beautiful, awesome, and damn right amazing people. Yes, you have. Y'all make sure to stay strong out there, boys and gals. This may be a tough world, but y'all are tougher. And I will catch y'all next time. Dismiss, Rangers. Regardless of what you say, you cannot convince me that Big E does not hate religion.